It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Friday, May 3rd, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that thinks the Phantoms held it together pretty decently in game one.
Men's amends.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here as always with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology. We are at Locked On Flyers on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and I'm a big fan of Monopoly Go, a mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends, download Monopoly Go free on the App Store or Google Play. You can find us on YouTube or on the SiriusXM app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The aforementioned Phantoms lost game one in their best of five series to the Hershey Bears 2-1. I think, all things being equal, it was a decent effort there. Obviously, you want them to win, but after, as we talked about, Hershey just got a huge influx of top guys from the Washington Capitals after they got eliminated. I think that I think they did okay defensively in this one, I will say.
Yeah, defensively, they definitely did okay. And I think they're playing 11-7 is going to hurt them offensively. And so,
Yeah.
this is the whole failed strategy of, well, let's see more of these defensemen because these are the ones we value more. And you're hurting your offense. And so, yeah, I think that's going to haunt them all series.
Yeah, I think they just don't know what to do, and this is their solution. And it feels oddly reminiscent of
It
the
does.
Flyers. But I think they should give another forward a shot and rest a defenseman for a game. I don't think sitting Victor Mete is a tragedy, and I think
No,
that they should try it.
they should try it. I mean, again, I'm really kind of dumbfounded why Rizzo's not in there. Like, this
Yeah,
guy's
that's
a
the big
really good
question.
offensive talent, and you're not playing him. Good for Lixell. He had 5 shots. That's good. And Furry had 6. He could have
Mhm.
16 and never score either. Like, he's that kind of player. So he shouldn't be your driver on offense. To me, that's a problem. And, fans actually had a very good point. After that first line, you basically just put in lines of grinders. And that's not going to get it done against this team. They have
Yeah.
a lot of skill with LaPierre and McMichael and everything. You've got to play as many skilled guys as you've got. That's my problem with this whole setup.
I know. I think that's the issue for me is not playing Rizzo. I just, you can say, "Oh, this is just a chance for him to get practice in and get to know the team and the system all you want." But just this is a do or die series. Just give him a shot.
He's a
Give him a
competitor,
shot.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't
I'm
score
sure
until late.
he's itching to play. Unless there's some sort of injury thing going on that we don't know about. That's the
Right.
only reason I would say to sit him.
But, again, uh, they didn't score until late.
And it
They,
was 6-on-5.
yeah. Good for Lisinski. Nice to,
Mhm.
see him keep it going. Of course, yeah, just the fact that they need more offense. It's obvious they're going to need more offense to beat this other team, to beat Hershey. There's just no way around it. And I can't believe they think 11-7 they're going to have offense. I think they're hoping to win 2-1 games here, and I think they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I think that, like we said, the defense did a great job holding Hershey to only 2 goals in this game.
Yeah.
I think, you can't say enough good stuff about them. I just would rather have one less of them out on the ice. But I think that the other interesting thing in this game was that neither team had a power play all
Which
game.
is
Uh,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah, there was only one coincidental minor call in the whole game, where 2 guys sat and 0 power plays. And so, you have a whole game 5-on-5, like, that's gonna put some wear and tear on your forwards if you're doing 11-7.
Yeah, I want to send like a kind of like a heartfelt message to the coaching staff. Hunter Shepard's going to beat you in every close game,
Every
unless
time.
you every single time. That's how good this guy
Yeah.
is right now in that league. So unless you're putting a lot of guys in front of him or taking a ton of shots, which they had a fair amount of shots, but 31's not a ton. Uh,
Right.
you're not going to win.
No, and the Phantoms outshot Hershey in
Yeah.
the but obviously still lost the close game because Hershey has the skilled shooters, they got it done, and the Phantoms didn't have the right setup going into this game, on the forward side of things, and yeah, I do think, there was pretty solid effort from those top guys like Lazinski, Brink,
Hmm.
Lixell. I think,
But they
Russ
go two and
had
a half,
the
three
same,
lines
but
deep. Sorry. On Hershey, they go much deeper.
yeah. Yeah, that's just it. And so it is gonna be an uphill battle. We talked about it, in our preview of this series that it was gonna be tough and they had to keep it close in order to win, but you have to also score the goals in order to
Yes.
win.
Yeah, I mean, you got to score 3 goals, and getting three on Shepard's going to be hard. So you can't
Yeah.
just, my feeling is you're never going to do it 11-7. It's going to be so hard. It's different than even the Flyers playing 11-7 because, they have more offensive defensemen there. You have a few here, there's no question. But again, Victor Mete shouldn't be playing. Sorry,
No.
Victor. You've had an NHL career, you've had an AHL career. You know, you got to put Rizzo in there. It's the only smart move to make. But if you can't put Rizzo, there are other guys. There are.
Well, game 2 is Saturday night. We'll see if the
Mhm.
Phantoms do that, and, we'll talk about it on Monday. Meanwhile, one of the Flyers prospects, goaltender Igor Zavgarin, has been traded to a new club in Russia, in SKA St. Petersburg, and is signed now to a 3-year deal with the VHL level club, which is the AHL equivalent over
Right.
there.
Right. I mean, he'll eventually play in the NHL for the A in the NHL and the KHL for them, but that's fine. I mean, he's got years to develop there, and it's better to be with a bigger club in the end.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that, for him, he's 18, a goaltender, like, we don't have to worry about a contract length in the KHL
No.
or, in that system for a goalie at all, and, not even having him available till he's 21. Again, as a goaltender, there's literally nothing to worry about there.
Yeah, that's normal. So it's fine. It's good. He'll develop that way. It's nice to see, him get some notoriety because he really did have a great year. It's a good
Mhm.
pick so far.
Yeah, and, like, I know that in the KHL and in that club system, there's definitely the haves and the have-nots
Yeah.
over there, and so, like, what do you think it means to go from, like, a have-not club to a have club,
I think it's,
for him?
it means that you're now, you went from being the big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a big pond. And that's what happens when you come over to the NHL too. So I think this is his first now, opportunity to experience that and have to, swim his way out of it for lack of a better term. And I think he will. But I think it's good. I think it's good when players are challenged like that. I do.
Yeah, I think so too, and it's good to know that, he's developing and in the wings and not honestly, not having to worry about him on the North American side of things, which we know there's a lot of
Right.
drama around the Flyers
Yeah,
goaltending
they got
right
enough
now.
going on, man. They don't need
Yeah.
to add to it. No, it's fair point. Point well
Yeah,
taken.
so I am glad, he's gonna go somewhere really good over there for the time being. We talked about goaltending in terms of our priorities for next season. We asked you about what you think the Flyers' priorities should be next season in a listener poll on our YouTube channel. We have those results and we're going to dig into them coming up next.
It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 winning bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. I'm still saying go take the over with the Sixers Knicks. Boy, at the 9 o'clock start time, there's not going to be any defense. They're going to be tired out there. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Next week on the show, we will be talking about the latest with the Phantoms playoffs. We're going to start doing some player deep dives into how the season went for some of the guys on the Flyers. We're going to start addressing salary cap management, more NHL draft coverage. So there's so much in store next week. So stay tuned for all of that. We did ask all of y'all out there about what your biggest priority for the Flyers was this off season. We gave you 3 like prefab answers and then left it open for you to add your own. Drafting well seemed to be the top priority by a mile.
I love it.
69%
Yeah, that's great.
was your votes out there. And yeah, absolutely. I think, when you're in a rebuild, drafting and developing is the watchword.
Yes. Yeah, no question. And I think the fans got it right here by an overwhelming number here. Really overwhelming. I'm happy with this.
Yeah, me too. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the Flyers respond to this call to do some really good work at the draft this year. We're continuing to cover potential draft picks as well as Flyer strategy. We just did a great program yesterday on what the draft meetings should look like
Mhm.
for the Flyers, going in depth with Russ's expertise as a draft and prospect expert. And it was really insightful. So if you haven't listened to that, please go back and do. I think you'll learn a lot from the
We got some
conversation.
nice comments about it. So thanks for that too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The number 2 answer runner up here was managing the salary cap and contracts well at 15% here. And
Again, the right answer.
yeah, I think that is a close second here. I think that it's going to be key to set themselves up correctly
For
for this
success. Yeah.
rebuild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions there as well. And I should add, in terms of the drafting well aspect to it, some people in the comments said you have to draft well and compliment Mitchkov, which is something we've been talking about since he was drafted
Correct. But
last
it's good that
year.
they have their eyes on the prize. That's good because that's really a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the third priority with only 9% is signing key free agents. And I think that, yes, in the grand scheme of this is, the third most important thing
Yeah.
of these 3.
Lower priority.
It's a lower priority. And I think it's a lower priority because we want them to, promote from within, as you would
Right.
say in the corporate world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so signing free agents should not be the priority. But I will say at the same time, there seems to be, a clamoring for getting a 1C and maybe solving some of the goaltending, which right now, the only way to do is by signing free agents, but we can't really do that. So
Right.
that's some circular
Yeah, it's
trouble there, right?
that's the hamster wheel right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do think that it is a conundrum to say the least because I think in the grand scheme of things right now we're looking more at a 4C that we need than a 1C, and for the
Right.
next year they just got to deal with what they got
Yeah.
in terms of who's the de facto 1C. I just don't think that this is the year to prioritize getting a 1C.
No, I
I
don't
don't know what you
either.
think.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's gonna happen. So they'll probably have to make do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think that, some of the other suggestions
Yeah.
were
What
pretty
was other?
solid.
What was under that?
Well, fixing the power play was number 1.
No shock there.
Right, right, and, it's been
It's the
man,
most obvious thing of obvious things, right?
right, and I think that the reason why we did not put that in the list of priorities, like prefab, priorities for you to choose from is it is that obvious.
Right.
And we also already knew at this point that Rocky Thompson's going to be back next year.
Right.
And we still don't know 100%. They could change their mind in terms of his role
Correct.
in the coaching staff. I think that's very possible that ultimately they'll
I
decide to
mean,
change his role.
I won't ruin anybody's hope there. You could hope all you want for that.
Right. And so I feel like the biggest thing they could have done to fix the power play was already off the table. So how
Right.
could we prioritize it for them,
Right.
right?
Right. No, that's fair. What else was in that
So
other?
the other main one was fixing their shooting percentage, which I know is a
Ooh.
pet project of yours, Russ.
It is. I'm glad people are behind it. Be interesting to see if the team gets more behind that. I think that's a key to success. I'm telling you, it's there. It's fixable. It's there. You have some guys that can you could work with and get better results.
Yeah, and I think that you know, another priority that isn't really on here, but it has to deal with player development. And because it's not necessarily something that you do during the off season, focus on as much other than having an off season practice plan for individual players of things they
Right.
want to work on. But, as a team, you only really do that stuff during the regular season. And so to me, in terms of player development this off season, I want a really strong development camp. I think that's gonna be really important to set it up for success and set it up in a way that you're really giving some of these guys opportunities that maybe they haven't seen before and really show that there's room for them in this organization and
Yeah.
emphasize that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. So, some of the testing that the Flyers do one year, when Ron Hextall took over, they put it all out in public, and I got to the rink like an hour early before camp because I'm a lunatic and I love development camp, and I watched some of the guys doing it, and so I saw Sam Morin jump really high. I took a picture. I'm like, "How high was that?" And the guy's like, "I can't tell you." And I'm like, "All right, I can guesstimate." And I did. I tweeted it, whatever. I watched a few things. The next day, all the equipment was back of the house. They wouldn't let any of us see it. And really, it was just me and then somebody else strolled in too. Didn't want us to see it. And I never believed that that should be like secretive. I think it should be really out in the public
Yeah.
so the fans can see it and can see what guys are doing. I don't think other teams are going to try your stuff. So that's where I sort of disagreed with the Hextall group on that. But as an example, like the end of the year stuff, if I was talking to Bobby Brink, I'd be like, you got to come in here next year in the best shape of your life. I want to see you be the number one guy in camp. I want to see you beating other vets out there. We know what your speed is. If you can get a little faster, great, but you need to get much stronger. That has to happen this summer. I can't stress how important it is for your career. I don't know if that happened, but that's what I would have said.
So is Bobby Brink somebody that goes to development camp or not?
I'd send him there because he would be the older guy, and I want to see him
Right.
just no, for lack of a better term, I want to see him, destroy some of the other guys in development camp to know that he's ready for the big camp.
Yeah, I think that there's always one guy that you're like, "Wow, is he still a dev camp
Correct.
guy?" And I feel like Bobby Brink should be that guy this
Plus, you'll
year.
have Rizzo there, and that's a good thing
Yeah,
for those two.
yeah, I think so. I think that's a really good approach that you can say, "Hey, we want you to help mentor Rizzo as well." That's part of why,
Yeah.
we're inviting you to dev camp and to be a leader and see what you've got.
Yeah.
So if you present it that way, I think it makes a lot of sense because I
Hmm.
think that some guys, once they get to the NHL level, there's an awkwardness if they're
Right.
going to their team's
Oh
development
yeah.
camp, right?
But I've noticed over the years, the Flyers, the older guys in development camp, they take it the right
Yeah,
way, and they like taking
they
the
do.
younger guys under their wing.
Yeah, like Cam York, I
Right.
think
Yeah, he went
last
there
year.
definitely 1 year too late, maybe even two.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, hopefully Bobby Brink can step it up in that way. The NHL playoffs are continuing, and they've announced some of the nominations for awards, which I know, Russ, you love to talk about awards.
Oh, it's just a joy with everybody out there. They're just so welcoming when you tell them who you picked.
All right, so we will dig into all of that coming up next. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting your friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. We'll have a new poll for you next week, so stay tuned for that on the Monday show. The NHL playoffs, as of recording, we don't know the results of the Leafs Bruins game from last night. But other than that, any surprises so far for you?
I mean, Dallas has proven something to me. I wasn't sure what they would do against Vegas, and I'm not counting Vegas out 100%, but they're
Right,
Ottinger's starting to come up big, and that's good. Uh, I wasn't surprised that Winnipeg lost. I was surprised that Hellebuck didn't do too well, but I saw some
right.
comments, and I think he was right. He said half those goals I didn't even see. And that's what the Avalanche do, man. They know how to overwhelm the opponent. They know how to get in the kitchen. They know how to take the eyes away. They do all those things right. And so that's something where, I think Winnipeg has to go look at that. Everybody in the world was worried about Alexander Georgiev. They were like, Russ, how could you pick the Avs? He might not even be the starter. They're going to use somebody else. He's going to get taken out. He ended up being the better goalie. So I just,
Yeah, he was.
it's just funny
He
how
re-
like there was this call to arms about him because he had a bad game and he was bad down the stretch, but he got overused. So, it worked out. The coach sort of put a shock into him post game, and I think that worked.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, with Dallas, they were definitely shaky at the start of the
Oh yeah.
series. And I was really nervous about it because I honestly thought I was like, this is the year for Dallas. They're going to make that push and have a real shot at it this time around in the West. And I was after, facing Vegas, you never know what you're going to get. But they have settled things down a little bit.
They
So they
have.
do have a shot to win the series tonight. We'll see if Vegas can pull it out. Does Vancouver win the series tonight?
I think they do. Look, I know people are arguing that the Preds may have played better this series, and they may have. I think right now the fact that Thatcher Demko may have a torn ACL, but he is dying to come back at some point, is fueling the guys. I think it's helping them. I think their backup goalie, was it Alexander Belov, something like that, is better than I thought he was. I didn't know him. Like I just didn't know what to expect. So
Right.
that's helped. Brock Besser woke up.
Yeah.
Elias Pettersson, I think, is hurt. I think he doesn't have the sting on his shot right now. So I don't know what he's going to do. And he's just going to take a lot of heat because he's got, a big bank account. But in the end, I think Rick Tockett's doing a masterful job. And I do think they're going to come through. But I do give Nashville credit. They've really given them all they can handle.
Yeah, I'm definitely impressed with how Nashville has performed
Yeah.
in this series, but ultimately, I do think Vancouver will win it out. Carolina versus New York Rangers. Any predictions for that round two matchup?
Well, I'm predicting that this has to be some sort of distraction that we're talking about Rob Brindamore's contract again in season before they go on to the next round and play the Rangers again. Like
Uh,
I just think that's a
we tried
mistake.
talking about it yesterday.
I know, but you know what I mean? Like I just think it's a mistake. I think this is, Freddie Anderson against Igor Shesterkin. I do. I think uh we've seen this before. Anderson does look a little better though. I give him that. He doesn't have the best track record in the playoffs, and Shesterkin does. My feeling is you can't let this go to 7. Carolina
No.
is not going to win Game 7 at MSG. They are not going to do it. So they would have to win in 6, and I just don't think they can do it. I think it'll be a very tight series. I think they have more offensive firepower than they did. I just feel like that little difference in the goaltending is going to be the difference
Yeah, I
for
think
the
it just
Rangers.
depends, yeah, if Shesterkin can keep it up. And
Right.
I know that he can, but so he's had his rough
No,
moments.
no, this hasn't
So,
been the best year for him. I mean,
yeah,
and their defense has some flaws. I think
right,
Laviolette's done a nice job here, though, and he's gotten the most out of some of the guys that they had to get more out of Lafreniere, out of Panarin. They've gotten a lot more out of
right,
Panarin, actually. So I think
right.
Laviolette's been through this before, and he knows this is maybe the last roundup for him. So
Yep, I think so. Turning our attention to the NHL award nominees so far, we've talked about 2 of the 3 Vezina nominees so far, Connor Hellebuck and Thatcher Demko, the third of which is Sergei Bobrovsky. What's your take on these as the finalists and who you got?
yeah. Now, luckily, we don't formally vote for these guys. We do the All Stars, and actually, that's how I have them listed. Like that's it. I agree with that. And you could switch Demko for Bob if you want. Bob's had a tremendous year. Listen, it's regular season, so you can't rip Hellebuck and say, "Oh, you don't deserve the
No.
Vezina." And goalies always take the slings and the arrows, but his defense wasn't good either. So, but no, I think this is exactly right.
I think so too. The Norris, Quinn Hughes, Roman Yossi, and Kale McCarr.
All 3 in my top 3. I'll say that.
Yeah. To me, it's Quinn Hughes, especially given everything that happened with the Canucks this year and, how much further they progressed
Yep.
compared to expectation. I think, he was a huge factor in it. Roman Yossi just feels like not to discredit his season. I thought he had an excellent
He
season,
did.
but it just feels also like a reputational
Well,
nomination at the
compared to the
same
first 2,
time.
maybe. I mean, he did have a
Yeah.
really good year, but I mean, Makar was
Not as good as past years. Yeah.
no, not as but Makar was just unbelievable too. Imagine he played a
Yeah.
full season. I had a hard time naming the guy because I looked at a lot of different stats. I did.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's Quinn Hughes, but if any of them win it, I don't
Yeah.
think it's,
I wouldn't
I'm not going to complain.
I wouldn't begrudge any of them. And just to give you an example, like I had Noah Dobson as my last one
Mhm.
because he had such a good year too.
Yeah.
I had Victor Hedman in there too.
Yeah.
Like this is just
Both
these
good
defensemen
options.
are unbelievable.
Yeah. A real stacked category. The Calder, we know that there's some saltiness going on for you around this
Some
with, Wild fans getting on you about not picking Brock Faber, but
I got
it's
Marco
got to be,
Rossi in the 5th spot.
I know.
Okay, just letting you
Yeah, they
know.
have 2 great
Right?
rookies. Like, why are they
I
complaining?
don't know.
Luke Hughes got the 3rd slot in there, which that's fine.
Yeah, it's Hughes or Cooley. I thought for that 3rd slot, so
Yeah,
it's fair.
yeah. I think I might have gone with Cooley just because
Cooley
of
did better
what.
late. I will say that.
Yeah, yeah. And with looking what's around him, I think Cooley
Right?
made the best of a worse
Yeah, and he'll
situation.
be in a different
I
city
think.
next year.
I know. I think he'll be happy with that.
Yes.
um, The Masterton, of course, there's no winners or losers
No,
with
they're all
the
good choices. I'm not
Masterton.
going to sit and argue for anybody. Anybody who wins this award, I could just tell you that it means a lot to the player who wins though from the league because I've interviewed some Hall of Fame players that have really said they've really appreciated winning this award in their career.
Yeah, so the 3 finalists are Freddie Anderson, who we talked about, Connor Ingram, and Oliver Shillington, and I think all
All
worthy.
good choices.
Everybody who's nominated is worthy for sure. The Jack Adams is today, which
Mm.
is being announced today, so we don't know what they are yet. What do you think?
Yeah, this is another tough one. I mean, look, John Tortorella definitely had a chance on it early and it slipped away. So
Yeah,
it's not going to be John. Uh Tockett's definitely up there. My Tockett is hard only because the team already had a certain amount of great players, but again, they had been failing.
Right, and he put the pieces together to make it work.
So I'm going to say it like this. I think it's going to be Tocchet, but Spencer Carberry is like right there because nobody gave the
Yeah.
Capitals any
Yeah.
kind of anything. And I watched him intently in that final game, ran into him in the hallway after the win. Like I'm super impressed with Spencer Carberry, but I think Tocchet's going to win it.
Yeah, I do think Carberry should be one of the finalists without a doubt. I might throw Laviolette in there
Yeah, you
too.
might. Yeah.
But I just, the third spot I'm not as certain about, but I think those two should definitely be
Yeah.
in the finalists. We'll see if that happens. We'll talk about it on Monday. The rest of the award nominees will be announced over the weekend and into next week. So plenty of time to discuss before the actual awards are presented. That will do it for today's show. We'll be back Monday with the U18 update, a Phantoms update, so much that we talked about earlier in the show, plus our new weekly poll question for the off season. We'll have our nemesis of the week on Monday. And as a reminder, we always want to hear from you. So if you've got mailbag questions or prospects you want us to cover, let us know via Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube that's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today available on the free Fire TV channels app. Have a great day, everyone.